posted on Instagram, did you? Yes, I did. And do you know what I did? I said, which is true, I said, I emailed Soundcore. I said, would you like to send me the Motion 300? Yeah, I know we've got issues, but at the end of the day, I'll tell it like it is, good or bad. And do you know what? I didn't reply. And then, do you know what happened? A bit after that, someone did reply, but it wasn't the one that I emailed, and said the one that I'd emailed is no longer there. And we'd love to send you they'd like to send me the Motion 300. And I said, well, I've already bought it from America and I've had to pay the extra postage, but you could send me the X500 if you want, because I'd already seen the pre-release reviews, thingamajigs, you know what I'm talking about. And they said, well, okay. And I thought that was great. And do you know what? Not 3 weeks later, which is ASAP in the world of Soundcore, they did send me the Motion X600. No, they didn't. The Motion X500. Well, I did get the 600 as well. The Motion X500. They did send it to me. I didn't pay for it, but I never agreed to anything. I did not agree to do a video, and what I just said, you can send it to me if you want. And they did. And my own choice is to make a video. The first thing that strikes me when I hear the X series, because if you've been living underground for the last 5 years, you may not know we've had the X600 and the X500. The world has gone absolutely crazy. Why have they gone crazy now? Well, I'm going to tell you why they've gone crazy. It's because it's got spatial audio. And do you know what else has spatial audio? Every other speaker that is stereo. Yeah, because spatial audio is a catchphrase for a 3D image. So, how long have we had stereo? How many decades we had stereo?
5 billion years later.
So, here's the thing. They're now marketing the X500 as the world's most portable spatial audio speaker. How can they get away with that, Al? I'm going to tell you. Because in their world, they've only got the X600 and the X500 that does their in-house, what they call spatial audio. But, you know, obviously, they'd like you to imagine all sorts of things when they say that. So in their world, this being smaller than the X600, and is it actually lighter, by the way? Is it lighter than the X600, which is... Yes, it's slightly lighter than the X600. But this is taller, and the X600 is wider but shorter. So you could argue they're about as portable as each other. But when you see headlines, world's most portable spatial audio speaker, I can 100% tell you it's not true. Do you know why? Because Soundcore already do one of the an even smaller spatial audio speaker. Do you know what it is? It's a Soundcore 3. No, it's not got an upward firing driver. Yes, where's it written that you need an upward firing driver?
Hello, Alan. Soundcore here. According to our research, 8 out of 10 people prefer it straight up.
You see, they're doing that because they want you to think it's Dolby Atmos. It's not Dolby Atmos, it's stereo. Let's get it out of the way. Spatial audio in the world of Soundcore is stereo, upmixed with third upward firing driver. Here's the X500, there's the upward firing driver, just like we had on the X600. But stereo. But if you want to get, because they can't have it both ways. If you want to get technical with the, yes, to the letter of the law, what is spatial audio? It's stereo. Soundcore 3. That's more portable than the X500. So there is no way they can claim that's the world's most spatial audio speaker, because either that's smaller and more portable, or it isn't, because they're saying that's got an upward firing driver, but upward firing driver is not what makes it spatial audio.
8 out of 10 people prefer it straight up.
It doesn't make it Dolby Atmos. So it's stereo upmix, doesn't decode any true spatial formats, doesn't do binaural, which is obviously for headphones, doesn't do Dolby Atmos, surround sound, any true decoding and playing of those formats. Some reviews would like you to believe it's got a third channel, and that's like having a center channel speaker. No, it's not like the dedicated center channel of a proper surround sound system. Right, we've got that out of the way. Here's the other thing. Why they call it an X? Do you know what? Every time you split up with your partner, what do they become? They become your ex. Depending how you look at it, it's good or bad, isn't it? But I don't think to call it your ex it's basically the speaker you've thrown away. Well, maybe they know something we don't. I don't want to... This is an unbiased video, so I'm not going to say one way or the other, just because me and Soundcore have had issues, right? So, in terms of the naming, though, I would say, why has it got an X? I don't get it. I like the cuddly names. The Soundcore Rave Neo 2. Woo! And it's got lights and all that. This has got light. Oh, by the way, get this out of the way. I know 20 minutes into the normal preamble when I've said absolutely nothing, but look, I've said it before, I'll say it again, my channel did it my way. We did have that poll, and I just was interested to see how many of my friends are actually Faint-Hearted Lovers, was it? Faint-Hearted Lovers, Troopless Friends. Anyway, it was a song, Kenny Rogers' song, Faint-Hearted Lovers. So, apparently 45% don't think it's going too well. Well, this is fine. My channel, I'll do it my way. I was just interested to see, where I am when I talk about my hardcore subscribers. Anyway, so what happened here? Look at that. That's what happened. So here's the thing. They sent it to me. As you know, I do all the testing. One of the testing is I drop it in water. I drop it in water to see if it floats, and also which way up it floats, because if it doesn't float with the drivers up, that's kind of pointless to me. But here's the thing. It's got a flappy thing on the back, because this is IPX7. IPX, so the X is a placeholder for dustproof. It's not dustproof, so it's IPX7 as not IP67. IPX77. Drop it in 1 metre of water for 30 minutes. Oh, by the way, someone said, I can't hear a word you're saying. All you Brits, apparently, you just think we assume we know what we're going to talk about. And I am British. Oh, and someone else said, why are you doing all that Cockney stuff? Do you know why? Because I'm Cockney. Do you know where I live? I live in London. Do you know where I was born? Stepney. Do you know where Stepney is? It's within the sound of Bow Bells. Bow Bells being how you define someone who's Cockney. Got to be born within a church. That was in the Bow Church. Bow Bells of that church. If you live within listening distance, you're Cockney. All right, got that one out of the way. Boom! What we got on the back is a USB-C. So there's no auxiliary. Get that out of my way. So we got no auxiliary input. But that's partly waterproofing. So when I did my water test, it was partly open. It's not the first time I've made that mistake, but this is the first time making that mistake has killed the speaker. So just put it out there. That is blinking bloody important that you cover that. I'm assuming that was a reason. I don't know. But however, I dropped it in water. That was partly open. When I took it out, it was completely killed. When I say completely killed, is yes, the lights are on because it's still waiting for the battery to run down. But I can't do anything. There's no light there. This is dead to the world. Soundcore, if you're watching, I don't know if you watch anymore. If you'd like to send me another one so I can do more comparisons, yes, when you find out what the end of this video is, that would be really nice. I didn't pay for it, so it's not the end of the world. But what it did allow me to do without any fear was take the grill off to show you what's under there. So, as we saw on the X600, it's quite clever the way they design the drivers to give you more of that spatial feel. Here's the thing, it plays stereo, decodes stereo, up mixes stereo. Anything that's not stereo, that was mixed in stereo, has now broken the original mix. If you're an audiophile, still scratches my head the number of so-called self-acclaimed, declared audiophiles that say the X600 is absolutely fantastic, blah, 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 entitled to your opinion, and that's great if you like your speaker. It's broken the original mix. I thought the whole point was you want something that sounds like the original. Well, that's not how the stereo mix was ever mixed. And once you've gone to a third channel and some of it's firing up and we get onto that and why it really breaks the mix, that's not the original. But the point is they're trying to make it sound more airy. That's fine, just the marketing is the issue. The front two drivers are kind of pointing up, and that points up and forwards. I can actually take that off and show you. If I knew what I was doing. It was hard enough to get on, now I can't get off. Right. I will get something to take that off. I'm not having a screw, but I've got a screwdriver.
Oh my God.
This allows me to dig it right sort of in there. Right, because without fear of breaking it, and by the way, I did have to break it. To get this all dismantled, you have to take the side bits off. That's glued on, so use a heat gun. I didn't use a heat gun, and I just ripped it off. It was a lot easier on the X600. This was well glued, I guess, and it actually split all that. And I've had problems getting it back together, and I still can't work out how to get the back bit off, because I seem to have run out of screws. Still can't get it off. Why did I take that off? I was going to show you the top driver. So that's up and forwards. So it's not straightforward right up. That's kind of angled that way. These are angled. And as you see, look, in the real world, if you're an audiophile, you're looking at that and you're saying, and that's diffraction heaven. You wouldn't want it set that back. You want it about, the bevel to be, the baffle to be level with the drivers. But they have set it back so that that creates a bit more left and right separation. In itself, creating a bit of left-right separation gives you a bit more of the oral clues as you would like. But of course, you've got other issues doing that, but they have done that because it's a spatial audio. They're trying to give a sense of 3D image and more height information. It's not true height information, but fine, that's what they're doing, and that's why they've done that. They set that back, that's a good design, and it's kind of firing upwards to help with the sense of height. So that's a look inside at a dead speaker, not completely dead, but it will be when when the battery is fully depleted. So, you know, I would like to get the second one just to see if that really was the reason, because I've done that before and it didn't kill the speaker. Would like to see if that really was the reason, but I ain't going to pay 150. By the way, what is this speaker? We'll give you the headlines, because it's probably what you wanted to know when you tuned in the video. You probably wouldn't know about the speaker. Right, so the headline says it's a 40 watt speaker compared to the X600, which was a 50 watt speaker. That has 2 tweeters. It's much wider, of course, that's going to help with stereo separation as well. 2 tweeters, 2 woofers, upward firing SkyDriver they call it. No tweeters here, but we've got 2 full range drivers, and they say that's a full range driver. We'll get onto that. So 3 full range drivers. If you look at their specs, 2 15 watts for the front 2 and 10 watts for the upward firing driver. And there's a first clue. It's doing less than the other 2 drivers. Full range, they'd all do the same, wouldn't they? Or you'd think so. 15 watts, but that's 10 watts. So bit less power. It's going to do a bit less, isn't it? We know that. What's the other thing? Well, it's got wireless high-res certification. That's based, and then they'll say in the specs it goes from 50 hertz to 40 kilohertz. Well, that's true. So that is the certification, that the drivers need the ability to play up to 40 kilohertz. And do you know how much you'll hear there? Absolutely nothing. So forget that. Forget the 40 kilohertz. That's meaningless rubbish, certainly in terms of these sorts of portable speakers. Very little music, as I've said it many times. I need to stop saying everything, but just to say one more time, you're hearing the best hearing will top out at 20 kilohertz. Most tracks will top out about 12 kilohertz. That's where they will tail off. You won't hear anything at 40 kilohertz. Most studio mics top out at 20 kilohertz, depending on whether it's a proper recording or just electronic or whatever. So that certification, to all intents and purposes, is about the codec, because it certifies certain codecs as being high-res certified. In this case, it's the LDAC. That's the Sony proprietary codec. That goes to 990 kilobits per second, and that is your clue to why they say 3 times more detail. They say 3 times more detail, but they actually meant, I hope it's just a slip of the tongue, but they keep saying it, they meant 3 times the bit rate. The bit rate of what? Well, now they're saying Bluetooth technology. They mean SBC. We know it has so bloody crap. It's not really crap. It's quite a reasonable specification. But SBC, 328 kilobits per second. Why are you talking so fast now? Well, because I already see these videos about an hour. You get it about half an hour. Trust me, most of these videos I'm taking out half an hour. So I'm just trying to talk a bit quicker so I can keep a bit more in. So I was going to say she said, but she didn't say it. I didn't even meet her. I don't even know who she is, and I never saw her mother at Tesco at any time. So it's not 3 times the detail, it's 3 times the bit rate. 3 times the bit rate does not equal 3 times the detail. It might not even equal any more detail, because you may be on Apple. So LDAC is Android only, and was it Android 8 and above, and only if you've got 990. So it's adaptive. You need a really, really good, strong Bluetooth connection to get 990 kilobits per second. It will probably, if you keep checking it, it'll probably be quite a bit lower. But let's say it is 999 kilobits, and you happen to be on Android 8 and above, and your track happens to be more than like an MP3 quality, more than 328 kilobits per second bit rate. You can take a really crap track, have a massive bit rate. Don't forget we're talking about digital, and it still be crap. Do you know why? Because it was sod all there to start with. So there's so many reasons why that is not true, and just don't. It'll be a separate video to say all that. They say you can play for 12 hours. You know what they don't tell me? At what volume? Well, so mixed volume, 12 hours at best, and even if we knew what volume. If they're bass heavy, you'll get less battery life. If they're not bass heavy, so bass takes more power. If it's bass heavy tracks, less battery life. If it's just nice vocals, soothing music, you'll get more battery life. I don't test it, but for these very reasons, there's so many variables that this is absolute nonsense. Just go by the battery capacity. They say it takes 6 hours to charge. It is the full, that we would hope, 5 volts, 3 amps, so 15 watts of charging. That's pretty good. We said it was IPX7. Here's something that's not in any of the videos that I've personally watched. What's that out? Well, I tell you, it's me for a start. And the other thing is, 2023, nearly 2024, multi-point functionality. How long have we? Yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to go with it, and you want to skip through it, or it's up to you. But anyway, so just to get all the details out there, it's no multi-point functionality in the X600 or the X500. What does that tell you about the chip they're using? But anyway, I won't get into that. No multi-point functionality. Nothing about that in the marketing. Nothing about that in so-called reviews out there. And that's really, really annoying. That's something a lot of people really value. Got that in their other speakers, not in the X500, not in the X600. So it's got their preset modes. On this speaker, there's no bass up button. Well, I tell you, and I'm going to tell you why that is. So, default spatial signature, then we've got spatial dynamic, then we've got the bass boost. And they each have a different light. That's quite clever. But you know what isn't clever? They've made all the lights almost the same. The only way you tell the difference between the lights is when you go through one by one. But if you just saw a light, you'd have no idea because they're all like shades of white. I think they call them something else. But what I call one white, one bluey white, one creamy white, it's ridiculous. But what you can do in the app is go in and customize it. That's what I did before I broke it. And that's the only way to know what I'm actually on. And there's other issues. I can't get onto those issues, so I'll show you the app. I'm going to show you my version of the app. There are issues. I haven't heard anyone else talk about them. This is what I found when I went in the app. So we're into the app. Default spatial signature. Then we've got spatial dynamic, bass boost, and custom. But here's the problem for me. I can keep hitting custom, and there's just a whole load of customs. If I actually go in, let's click on the top arrow there, and then go into custom. I haven't adjusted any of these. This is what I've got. There's like 11 customs already set up. I've got no idea what's going on here. So custom flat, custom V, these things I have never set. Most of them are flat, some are set. I mean, I wouldn't do that, would I? So what have they given me here in the app? Someone else's EQs? I don't know what's going on. Another V. There's just one after the other. Look at them all. Look at them all. What on earth is going on? Anyway, just to quickly show you, because we are into custom, you've got, of course, your full band. You click on full band. You've got your sort of parametric equalizer. And you can play around with the width. There's a minimum width. I find this a little bit awkward, so I'll take that up there. Let me take that. I find this, it's not even doing what I want to do. I'm trying to click on to bring down the, no, it depends on how close they are. So I find that awkward. I'm going to reset that. I usually want to reset, yeah. Go back to the normal custom. Go back to the main screen. So if you just want to go through their presets, you got your bass boost, spatial dynamic, spatial signature. But there's just 3 for me. I don't know if there's something wrong with the version of the app I've got. We normally have more than that. We normally have a vocal, a balanced, etc., etc. Just know, if I click on spatial dynamic, you can see, according to their graph, it's a bass boost. And if I click on bass boost, it's the same bass, but less. And actually, it's not even as good as that. I'm going to get onto that in the frequency responses. You can change the custom color. It's silly how they got all 3 of the main presets the same color. But you can indeed click on here, as I have already done. So I know what I'm on to spatial dynamic, but of course you can click anywhere in that circle and change those default colors. You're going to need that. You of course have your options to turn on and off voice prompt, clipboard permission, button brightness, which is set to medium. The auto power you can change, tells you the firmware. I'm on the latest according to me, but with Soundcore, that means you can click up for the user manual and you can disconnect from the app. Why you don't want to do that, I do not know. You saw the presets. We already talked about that didn't look quite right. Looking at their own graphs as the bass boost versus dynamic, and dynamic versus the signature, because both dynamic and bass on theirs appear to have the bass boost. Anyway, so we'll have to go in and look at the frequency response before I can get into the rest of what I want to explain to you. Default mode, spatial signature, boom, first thing we see. The big hole, 800 hertz to around 1.4 kilohertz. Just to give you a heads up, that's going to be where the top driver kicks in. 2 kilohertz and above, actually quite linear, but you can see it's well above the rest of the frequency response. Even most of that bass, that tells you it's going to be bright. Big scoop out, upper bass, and a big push, mid bass. By the time we hit maximum volume, the bass is gone, but relative bass is pretty linear until maximum volume. Then we get spatial dynamic. And do you notice the difference between dynamic and signature? We have massive bass boost, but this is not the bass mode. This is spatial dynamic mode. And it's kind of very, very V-shaped, but it's really very, very bass heavy, but only in that mid bass. Still got a lack of upper bass, although it's filled in compared to spatial. Got that hole, as I said, is actually where the top driver kicks in, but still, that is a hole. The linear high end, but looking more balanced because those highs are now sort of in line with the lower mids. More balanced than that spatial signature, but as long as you can handle that bass boost. And here we have bass boost mode. And do notice what we don't have? We don't have any bass in bass boost mode. But what it does do, it goes louder. It's that old trick. We'll go louder, and that's all we have to do. We'll call it bass boost, but we've actually reduced the bass. They've done the other trick. Also, they've rolled off the high end, so you perceive it as more bass heavy in theory, but in practice, it just sounds like we don't have the highs. Strangely enough, a custom mode, which is normally based on signature mode, is no longer based on any of the other modes. You can see it's got the upward slant again on the right side. It's got less bass, but maybe a little bit more balance than signature. If you overlay them, they're very, very similar. But custom is not spatial signature. It's got less bass. But it does fill in the hole in the middle. And that's probably because the top driver fills in that gap, but it's only doing it in spatial mode. Just to show you how weird bass boost mode is, that's what they look like relative before you do the volume adjustment. So if you switch from one to the other, it's going louder and you think, oh yeah, I've got the same bass. Well, in the Soundcore world, you'd think that. In the normal world, you'd think, oh, I don't have more bass, but I have less high end. If we overlay them, so volume matched, sort of, what we do have is lower mids, very upper bass. It's right in that portion, which is upper bass, lower mids. They've boosted that. They've reduced the bass, the real bass, the mid bass, reduced the highs. And in fact, all bass boost does is go louder. It's a reflection of the new Soundcore. Very, very weird. Just to quickly show you what those drivers are doing. The passive radiator. Here's the bad news. It's tuned 65 Hertz. That's pretty high. That's pretty high. You're not going to get any deep bass from that because obviously that's already where the woofer is rolled off. In this case, rolling off about 80 Hertz. So this is an upper bass machine, really. This is in signature mode. And remember what I said. That top driver just fills in that hole. So it's like they've created a hole just so they could use the top driver. 600 Hertz to about 1.8 kilohertz. And that's what that upward firing so-called spatial driver is doing. It's playing some mids. We switch to the bass mode, which is actually dynamic mode. That top driver doing the same thing. But we've switched to custom, where if you remember in the frequency response, there was no hole. Do you know why? Because the top driver's not playing. So so-called spatial mode is some more mids from the top driver. But they've balanced it by reducing the mids on the woofer. So the upward firing driver, we got a clue. We said 15 watts, 10 watts already suggests they're not really full range. Yeah, it might be capable of doing full range, but they're not being used as full range. And as we can see, 600 Hertz to 1800 Hertz is where this speaker, the upward firing driver, is doing its spatial stuff. And then you see, when you go to custom mode, it's doing almost nothing. So no good spatial, like we had on the X600, turn spatial on, turn it off. You want to turn it off, you go to custom mode. Why? Because it doesn't use the top. And do you know what? It doesn't sound half bad because it's proper stereo. If you say, well, I can do that anyway, I'll just cover that up and play that dynamic or bass boost or signature, you're going to get that hole there. That fills the hole that they've got in the other modes. Clue of what the trickery that's going on. So 600 Hertz to 1800 Hertz when it's active. And when that's active, that same frequency is missing to almost missing. There's a hole there on the others, but not in custom mode. Custom mode is the mode to turn off spatial. If you're interested, you've actually got the speaker, how to use it. The bad news is the passive radiator, one there, is tuned 65 Hertz. They'd like you to think that's a £200 speaker. I know we've always got the discounts at the moment. It's going for 130 on the website. It says 150, and they're saying we're 40 quid off. We know these are £130 speaker. That's where it's going to be, whether you could do early bird or not. However, if we're going with what they say, it's a £200 speaker with a 65 Hertz passive tuned. Forget any sense of deep bass. That's why we've got that big mid bass push, and that's the other thing. So bass boost, very, very weird. It's not the bass boost. Bass boost goes loud. So we've got the modes. Let's have a listen to the modes, and then we can get on with our lives.
Move like
Dynamic is massive bass boost. We got some less mids, and they're about the same in the highs. Against custom mode, well, custom mode goes 1 decibel quieter anyway, at these volumes 60%. Got less bass, a little less upper mids, and a bit more in the highs. You may actually prefer that as your normal mode. And then bass mode just goes about 1.5 decibels louder. And when you actually volume match them, you got less bass. Well, you got more upper bass, to be fair. You got less of the mid deep bass where most of us would like the bass. A bit less in the mids. So I've demonstrated what I said. For me, dynamic sounds best. You know why? Because it's bass up, and bass boost is just very, very weird. I mean, I keep saying it, and they must have had a drunken night, blah blah. That really was a drunken night, and they've probably been taking something else as well.
Soundcore.
I don't know. It's just to go louder. Bass boost is not bass boost. It just goes louder. Dynamic is bass boost on, and spatial signature is bass boost off. I'm going to go, I think, with dynamic because it sounds better to my ears. Is it a massive bass boost? Yes, but otherwise it sounds bass light. I'm going to show you why, even though it's a bass boost, to me it's more of a real world sound. Let's play all those modes versus the original.
Move like this, I move like that. If you give a little, then you give it right back. Never lay it on your dick till we say goodbye. Do it up like we only got one night. Do it up like we only got one night. Move like this, I move like that. If you give a little, then you give it right back. Never lay it on your dick till we say goodbye. Do it up like we only got one night. Do it up like we only got one night. Move like this, I move like that. If you give a little, then you give it right back. Never lay it on your dick till we say goodbye. Do it up like we only got one night. Do it up like, move like this, I move like that. If you give a little, then you give it right back. Never lay it on your dick till we say goodbye. Do it up like we only got one night. Do it up like we only got one night.
So, for me, dynamic, it gets you closest to the original because it doesn't have any deep bass, but because the mid bass push is so big, and by the way, I'm not getting distortion on that, thank God for that. So they're able to get away with it. But custom mode is straight stereo, so there's no point really doing that. This is spatial audio speaker, apparently, but stereo is spatial audio. Oh, yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm very, very confused. Maybe a lot of you are, and there's bloody good reason to be. They want you to be confused, quite honestly, in my opinion, before I get sued. So that's it. Going with the dynamic for my testing. Going to start off 50%. Going to throw in Marshall Stockwell 2. Why are you doing that, Al? Well, because it's on the table. And also, I've done that joke so many times. But do you know what? It comes in my head all the time. And that's, I just sit here, I freewheel it, whatever. And what comes in my head. Because that's the thing. In my life, I do this anyway. And it doesn't matter because nobody says, I'm not going to watch you for half an hour. But you do that on here. But you've got the skip button and all that. You see, and there was another 2 minutes. Absolute pointless. So spatial audio, we already know that's just stereo. So here's another speaker it's supposed to give you a bigger sense of soundstage than simply being a normal stereo. So they got, well, Marshall sometimes are idiots as well. So here's the problem with Marshall. So we got a full range big woofer, and then we got another driver there, another driver there. They are full range drivers. But they used to call them full-range drivers, now they call them tweeters. Probably looks better in the marketing. But once a company flip-flops like that with the same drivers, you can't really believe them anymore. That's the other reason why you can't believe Marshall was not only, well, Marshall, as we know, were always sound industries, but they just use the name. But that sound industries now bought Marshall, and so they all are the one, but they like to trade on the name. So this is all the reasons why you couldn't never believe them. And aptX, it does do aptX. I've had that with another one of my friends on, I call all you guys my friends that are proper hardcore supporters. I think was you on Messenger, I think, and also confirmed, because they said, oh, SBC, and I asked Marshall, Sound Industries, and they said, no, I ain't got SBC, and I said, well, you've got to turn it on, and well, I think, you worked out you had to turn it on. I did show you, mine does do aptX, very, very nice codec, better than SBC, so bloody crap, we know that. And he confirmed his has. So they don't even know that their speakers have aptX. I don't know why, but they do. You've got to turn it on if it's not already turned on your device. Otherwise, you will be on SBC. So it does do aptX. They don't even want to put that in the marketing. The same tweeters, they know they're full range drivers. But they may have changed the tuning, I don't know. But here's the thing, they did advertise them as full range, now they advertise them as tweeters. We got through that. So they do their pseudo surround processing. And that's all we've had for decades and decades and decades. Psychoacoustics, very easy to fool your ears. You've only got to manipulate some of the frequencies a little bit, and it sounds like things are doing things they're not. So they do that with their left-right stuff. They do that with their other speakers. For me, it only works on the Marshall Stockwell 2. I'm putting that in because, look, quite similar in size. By the way, that also looks like the FIFA Oslo. Sounds very different, but it does look like that. When you don't tell me it's a unique design, other than it's got the amplifier driver. So, I'm going to put that in there, put the Motion Boom in. Do you know why? Because former pound for pound world champion, Blast is currently my pound for pound world champion, but still stonking absolute classic. What was it? Around 70 quid, around 60 quid in the last, 70 quid, $80, 130 or 200 quid, depending on how they advertise it. From Soundcore, got to put that in. And here's the other one, Soundcore Rave Neo 2. Why is that never advertised? I'll tell you why it's never advertised. Because as far as I can see, this is a Best Buy exclusive. Do you know what they sell it for? $130. This may be the biggest bargain out there. But I can't say it is if only you can buy it in America and only from Best Buy. However, I'm putting it out there because that's for $130. Same price, same company, cheaper, same company, very, very old. Spatial audio. I'm doing 50%. I'm changing what I do at the moment because 50% is where most of these speakers are at their sweet spot. These are portable Bluetooth speakers. These are not proper high-fidelity speakers from where you have a separate amp and all that. These are DSP tuned, different things at different volumes. 50% is normally the sweet spot, and then they start falling apart. So I'm going to do 50% and a 75% test. This is the 50% test.
The crowd it grew so loud, you and I didn't even I loved you since I met you. Did I ever tell you that? I tried to push you out, you pulled in. I fell hard so fast. I loved you since I met you. Did I ever tell you that?
Come back, wishes from people that don't really understand the feeling that we have. There's gonna be some bad wishes from people that don't really understand is that we have. Oh baby, keep loving, keep loving me just like you do it, like you do it, like you hits don't lift, so we keep growing just like we do it, like you do it, like you. People that don't really understand the feeling that we have. There's gonna be some bad wishes from people that don't really understand is that we have. Oh baby, keep loving, keep loving me just like you do it, like you do it, like you hits don't lift, so we keep growing just like we do it, like you do it, like you.
problem with the Stockwell 2. Yeah, apart from the fact that it doesn't go very, very loud at these volumes, they're saving the highs and cutting the bass. Actually, in the real world, at lower volumes, if you turn that dial to about 8 on the bass, it's almost like tilting the EQ. So you get a balanced high end and you get a more reasonable, quite balanced bass, but not at 75% and not at default. It's got a big bass boost. You know it's got a big bass boost when it's massively outdoing the Motion Boom. Boom does suffer at these volumes with a bit of a dip in the upper bass, but the mid bass is quite accurate. Overall, I think it's more accurate. You can see it's more accurate than the X500, apart from the big kick 10 kilohertz. You can see the issue for the X500, depending on where you're listening from and how much of the top driver you get, you got peaks 250 hertz, dip 1 kilohertz. The area of that top driver on axis listening does suffer. A 2 kilohertz peak. And then the Rave Neo, actually pretty well matched in terms of the mid bass, but the Rave Neo has managed to carry on into the deeper bass, so it wins there. And it's also far more accurate to the original track. We've got the peaks and dips, what you said, on the X500. So here's the thing. I really like this Marshall Stockwell 2 for a nice, balanced, relaxed listen. It's not gonna disturb your neighbours. In fact, they may knock on the wall simply because they want to come in and have a listen. But the thing is, it don't go very loud. It don't go very loud at all. So when that's at 50%, this is already about 75%. And as I already said, 75% is where they normally start falling apart, which is why I like to test them now, about 75%. But don't think that's really shows you what these speakers do. But I'm doing this fairly. So everything's in default mode. And when that's in default mode, it's not a very nice mode. I don't know why it is default. When I listen to this, it ain't 75%, it's low volumes. And I've got bass at 8. And do you know what bass at 8 does? It tilts at AQ. So from being bass light to a bit bright, it starts going actually the other way and being quite accurate and nice, but not at 75% and not in its default mode. But if you do that, you listen to low volumes, really nice, quite accurate, but yes, it's got a little bit of an echo. They call that a Blumline processing. But with all these people, it's more pure marketing. So the Motion Boom. So I would say, you know, this for the Motion Boom, that's not its sweet spot, and that's in default, and we know you can do amazing things and really bring out some magic when you go to custom. I'm keeping it fair. It actually was a surprise to me that the X500 actually outbassed it, but it's mid bass, but not deep bass. But outside of the bass, this is quite accurate compared to that. Neither of them got tweeters, and we know that did amazing things without tweeters. I can't really say that does amazing things, but hey, that's a decent listen. Dynamic, it's quite listenable, quite nice. It's got an obvious mid bass push. If you don't like any bass being boosted, you won't like it. I quite like that. It fills out the missing deeper bass, even though it's unnatural. And do you know what? That's not a bad listen. Nothing to do with spatial. Do you know what? To get any sense of spatial, I'm going with what they're saying. I've got to be like that. I've got to be in a sweet spot, because that's the thing. It's not just giving you height information. It's robbing some mids from those two drivers and it's giving you it from there. So depending on where you are and how you listen, you're going to get quite a different sound if you've got the ears for it. And in an area where you're going to be quite sensitive, those mids, you know, will alter the sound a lot. For me to get a sense of spatial, I have to be in a sweet spot about there, right in between the two of them. But it's quite nice. I'm not saying it doesn't sound nice when you're not in that sweet spot. I'm saying when you're not in that sweet spot, I don't get any spatial audio sense at all. And do you know what? Look, there's 3 drivers all close together. Come on. There's a reason why you have speakers like 10 feet apart to get a straightforward stereo before we even get to surrounded sound. Outbass the Motion Boom. I didn't see that coming, but not as accurate. It's got other issues because it's going to depend not least on where your ears are. I've tried to record it in the sweet spot, so I'm really being fair. But if you're not in that sweet spot, it will start to slant towards the boom. I'm saying it's more accurate. So it does have a 10 kilohertz peak because they've got to add in some of the missing highs. But overall, I just found it more smoother, more accurate. But, you know, it all depends on your tracks. You can get away with the, look, bass, you like it or you don't. You can push the bass to heavens come, as long as it doesn't distort. Elsewhere, it depends on the actual tracks, because if you've got a boost in the exact point where a track is balanced or has a boost itself, then it becomes horrendous. But 10 kilohertz tends to be where most of these electronic tracks are already tailed off, and so it just fills in a bit. It just makes it sound a bit clearer. It works, but if you actually try to listen to balanced tracks, it would sound a bit nasty. So the Rave Neo 2, it's fuller in bass. It's a bigger speaker. The same price if you go to Best Buy, as far as I can see. Exclusive, $130, $129. Goes deeper. And it fills in the rest of the bass. So it's got a fuller bass. It's got a bigger woofer. No surprises there. But it's fair because same price, sound, same company. Got a bigger bass. 500 hertz up, it's got a more natural response. So, again, depending on how you listen to it, it will have all sorts of issues. Sounds nice, sounds decent, don't get me wrong, but quite wavy, depending on where you are in the sweet spot to listen to. Overall, for me, that's the winner. Surprised that can outbass that. That's quite enjoyable, and that's smoother. All three of them you would enjoy. What about 75%?
Now we're free. Let's take our time and let's get wild. Can we finally breathe? Sing it on the beat. Oh, brother, passing through the fire. Understood you're strong inside, and how I really care. Oh, lover, we still love each other. Come on, let's leave the stains behind and let's fly again. Let's get big until I forget my name. Let's get big. Jump rise like to the left. Let's get big. Make it up while you can and let's do it again. Let's get big. If you wanna dance, I can tell you about this place I know, somewhere hidden in the sun. And no, don't waste your energy, even though we're 23. Gotta give you roll tonight. Let's get big. Let's get big. Let's get big. Let's get big. Until I forget my name. Let's get big. Let's get big. Let's get big. Let's get big.
So if we push the spatial dynamic now, it falls apart after 60%. You can hear that, and you can see that all that massive bass boost has now gone. It's waved goodbye. It's gone on its holidays. The Motion Boom does have the bass. It does carry on into the mid and the deeper bass. Yes, it's lacking in the upper bass, but a lot of speakers do that to bring out more of that deep bass. Not inaccurate either compared to the original track, other than its 10 kilohertz peak. So by far, at these volumes, the Motion Boom kicks the X500 into dust, really. Same story against the Rave Neo. Can match the deeper bass of the Motion Boom, but it is a bigger speaker. But it fills in the missing upper bass of Motion Boom. We do have a dip, 350 hertz, and it does have a high-end peak. But overall, it's got to be the winner against the X500 for sure. So obviously, it's falling apart now. I said I really liked it at low volumes, 75%. You've lost the bass is the issue. We liked it because it had a nice mid-bass push. Yes, it's not very natural, but do you know what? It fills in the missing deeper bass. Of course, if you've got a massive mid-bass push on your track, you might be in trouble. But the good news is, when I've tested it on mid-bass tracks, it didn't distort. That's nice. It is a listen, and 75%, you may never listen at those volumes. However, this is a hero at 80%, which is equivalent to 75%. It's smooth. It's got his bass. It's a better speaker. And there's the clue. How old is it? It's nearly old as me. This is. I haven't got it down, but it must be 2 or 3 years old, isn't it? Since I got it, and it was indeed a classic. Former pound-for-pound world champion. So, for me, this is now unlistenable at these louder volumes. Bass boost does go louder, but it's really weird. But this is holding its own. This is clearly the best speaker on the table.
Soundcore.
And arguably at lower volumes, but hey, it's a bigger speaker. Do you know what? It's got bigger driver size, and do you know what? That makes a difference. But same price, cheaper. For you to decide what volumes you listen at and how relevant it is. I didn't put Marshall Stockwell 2 in because it's already falling apart at 75%, and we would have been about 135%, and you can't do 135% because 100% is the most you can do. So for me, if you're going to listen to these volumes, a warmer, smoother, although it's got the weird 10 kilohertz push, it's only a problem if your tracks already are pushed already at that volume. This is more upfront, not very relaxing. This is upfront in your face. It's quite different from the Rave Neo original, but listenable, nice, got some bass, upfront lively, 8%, smooth, got some bass, some lovely deep bass sounding kind of because of the scooped out upper bass, gives it more of that bass, deeper bass sound, but that unlistenable.
Sound poor.
There you go. And that's my conclusion. Nice 50%, 75% unlistenable. What does that leave? 50, 75, 100% volume testing. Can you guess who isn't the loudest? Yep, it's the Marshall Stockwell 2, ridiculously underpowered, but really, really nice at lower volumes. If you just use those tone knobs to EQ it a little bit, I would say it doesn't have volume, but the original track is actually a downward slope, and the nearest to that is the Marshall Stockwell. Yeah, and that's not a big deal because it's not going loud, but it's the truest original track at these volumes where the others limit bass and then they just push the highs. It's nothing like the original track. It is the Rave Neo. It's the biggest speaker here. It does go the loudest, but do you know what? It's the same price at the moment as the X500. It's the only one here really filling in the mid bass. None of them really go deep into the bass, obviously maximum volume. It's holding on more, but yes, you've got more highs, and for you, that may be just too screechy. You look at the highs, it's completely dominating the highs. Remember, you keep asking me, naught is the loudest, minus 100 would be the quietest. So when we say minus 16, that is louder than minus 20. So if we look at the highs, minus 16, it's got the more highs. The next one is the Motion Boom. Also then does fill in that mid bass. For me, the Motion Boom is a bit easier to listen to because it doesn't have this high peak. If you just want the extra volume and you're outdoors, you've got it on the Rave Neo. And if we come down, we can see it's the X500 in bass boost mode, which we said already right at the beginning. It just goes louder. It's not a bass boost. They have the next, would say, smoother size because it is a downward slope on the original track. But the X500 in bass boost mode has no bass. Look at that green line falling well away when the Motion Boom is carrying on into the mid bass. The Motion Boom is the easier of the two to listen to. So bass boost is much louder than dynamic mode. It's just a bit behind. The signature mode, which is minus 17.5, is louder than 17.9. Naught is loudest. In terms of the peaks, I mean, 7 decibels is massively louder than the hundreds where we are on the dynamic and signature. But 104 is respectable on bass boost, but no bass. And 105, old man here, Motion Boom, still kicking some butt. So, Rave Neo 2 goes loudest. That probably sounds the smoothest. Bass boost is the loudest. And it does go reasonably loud. Not that one, is it? I'm talking about the Rave Neo 2. I'll get it together. If I did, I probably wouldn't be doing videos. But yeah, that goes the loudest, got the most bass and all that, blah, 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 and it's the biggest speaker. But this in bass boost mode is not far behind. It's a couple of decibels, but given how far the other two are behind, another 2 or 3 decibels, the other two, I'm losing it. The other two, do you know what? I took a phone call just now in between doing the on the edit, you didn't see? And I completely lost my train of thought. 100% testing now. I'll get there. So with 3 modes that I tested, spatial signature was a bit behind spatial dynamic, but bass boost, as I said, it just goes louder. Very, very weird. One of the weirdest tunings I think ever. Why? Because they called it bass boost.
You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
They called it go louder mode. Why? They made it go louder, but at lower volumes, they made sure the bass, even at the louder, just matched the other spatial below that, thinking they're clever. I don't know. They must think people don't actually listen to these speakers when they tune them. Anyway, bass boost does go loud. If you want to go louder, use bass boost. In any other world, on any other speaker, that would be called outdoor mode. Spatial, good, 50%. So for me, falls apart, 60% and above. Below that, decent listen. I can't listen to the X600. I can enjoy listening to that below 60% in dynamic mode, and custom mode is there for you to do your stereo tuning because it doesn't use the top driver, but then would you need that speaker? As you can see, really, you could almost cut that in half. I know we've got the passives down there, but I bet they could have implemented that, the 2 passives of one bigger passive up there. Do you know what? Talking about the world's most portable speaker, it would be half the size, at least 30% shorter. And that's the conclusion, isn't it? I'm looking, I put down in Marshall are idiots. Well, no, they are kind of idiots if you don't know what to say about their own speaker because it's got haptics. They say no. 4-range drivers, tweeters, either way, they're wrong because they flip-flop between what they wanted to call them. Got a narrow sweet spot. I'm just reading off my conclusion notes. I've lost, as I said, I've completely lost my train of thought. So I've got down. It's got a very sweet spot if you just want that spatial audio. You've got to listen. You've got to listen right between them. And there's a very good reason. I've already explained it to you. What you get out of that is missing from there. So, of course, you've got to be in between them. To me, that's a bit daft. If it was true surround sound, it would be extra information coming out the top. You wouldn't be missing anything from the normal left and right. And that's it. We can do the specs. I've been sitting here for an hour at this point. Of course, I did take a phone call. But as I said, I've been every time I sit, I'm going to do this, make this shorter, shorter, and I've kind of given up. It's pointless. I do what I do. I do what I do. That's no surprise. Okay, so I've got the Motion X600 in my specs. I didn't put it on the table. Why didn't I do that? There's a firmware update, which I've not had the time to get around, and I may not do. Do you know why? Because I've got the X600 fanboys coming on telling me to do it. If you tell me to do it, I won't do it. If you say it in a way, you tell me I'm a Soundcore hater and do this, do it, well, I'm going to do it. It's don't you remember the U-Boom? I mean, I do what I want. I'm here to enjoy myself. I'm not here to make money. And I'm not here to have a big channel. Do I want to be a big channel? 100%, of course. I want 20 million subscribers. And I'll go home and I'll tell me mum, I've got 20 million. Do you know what? She'll go and tell the neighbours and she'll say, my boys love it, got 20. Of course, we all want to be popular. But I don't need to make money. I don't want to make money. Of course, I want to make money, but I'm not monetizing it in any real traditional sense. I'm getting the adverts and that's it, my Amazon links. I want to do what I want to do. Do you know why? When I sit down here, I want to just enjoy what I'm doing and relax. That's all I want to do. So that's why I did the poll. I'm not going to change what I'm doing, but I was interested to see how fickle some of these people are. They want you to do what they want you to do. It's clear, it's my channel. I'll do what I want. So yeah, that's why I got the X600 down, but I didn't do it in this video. I thought these were more relevant anyway, to be fair. Marshall, so where are you? Okay, so a Marshall Stockwell 2 will cost you at the moment about £200, $200. But do you know, that's still one of the best listens at lower volume. If you EQ it right and get that bass about 8. For me, that's still the best buy. But in this testing, it came off really bad because the volume difference is not helping. A lot of you always say, what about something at low volume? There you go. 200 quid. That's not pocket money. But for me, it's worth it. Still, I know. I mean, I don't know. Is it still pound for pound champ? For me, Tribute Stormbolt Blast is because I picked that up before this, and I can't really get anything else that would sound like that at that money. And that flip flops between like 140 and 200 quid. 70 quid. I mean, it's stealing. You get 2 of those, you're covered for like 90% of your life, really. Yeah, and you can EQ it to your heart's content. It's going to cost you about... Well, this is the problem with their street pricing. And they're going for these early birds. And we've already told you, they just want your details. They always have discounts. They always have discounts for these X600 and the X500. Because it says normally 200 quid, normally 210 pounds. So you think it looks good. But it's never that price. Tell me a time you could get the X500 or the X600 for what they put down as the recommended retail price. Rave Neo, as I said, looks like a Best Buy exclusive, and that's why it's $130, and that's why they're not marketing. That may be the best value out there for most people who like a lively sound. $130, 130 quid street price, 130 quid. If you go on Amazon. So in terms of these batteries, as we said, I can't really trust until I get the teardown. I can't trust what they're saying because they're flip-flop, and I think I saw that on their last speaker. But anyway, they're saying 28 watt hours for the Marshall Stockwell 2, but don't go loud. So don't go loud. It will last longer. 37 watt hours is a big battery. All the others are big batteries. And so 37 watt hours Motion Boom. 46, but it is larger from the X6. On the X600, 46 is massive. If that's real, I need to see the teardown. But I think that's real. Rave Neo, 35 watt hours. And 35 watt hours for that. If that's real, that's a really decent sized battery. If it's real, as I said, even their own specs, they can't get it right. So we said they've got all the other coding. You've got LDAC, really, really nice. Forget 3 times the detail. It ain't true. But it is nice to have if you're on Android. And you've also got AAC support, and you've got SBC. Whereas the Rave Neo 2 is SBC only, and the Motion Boom is SBC only. They're all Bluetooth 5.3 for the X600, 5.3 for the Neo 2, 5.3 for the X500. Only the Rave Neo does party mode. The others will only do stereo with same model speaker. The X500 will only do TWS. You can't hook it up to any other speaker, and so it's only one more. Same with the Motion Boom. In fact, I think it's all the Motion range, isn't it? Only one other same speaker, TWS only, whereas stuff like the Rave Neo will do, I think, both in fact it does do, because it's Partycast 2. Partycast 2 will do both party mode and TWS. We've got auxiliary input, which is great, but no, not for the Motion Boom and not for the X500. In my research, it can all be used as a power bank, but not the X500. I'm pretty sure you can do the X600. I've got it down here. I may be wrong, but as far as I've got down here, a little bit of research, of all these speakers, only the X500 can't be used as a power bank. Only the Motion Boom and the X600 can be used to make phone calls. In terms of what they're trying to tell you, what's more or less meaningless, but in how much meaning they want. 20 watts for the Stockwell 2, 30 watts for the Boom, 50 watts for the X600, 80 watts for the Rave Neo 2, 40 watts for the X500. In terms of the weight, well, it's significantly heavier, 3.5 kilos for the Neo 2, then we got just under 2 kilos for the X600, followed by 1,650 grams for the X500. The lightest, 1.5 kilo for Motion Boom. Absolute classic, isn't it? All have IPX7 except for the Marshall Stockwell 2. Someone said, you always do that. Yeah, I get sweaty. And I'm under lights, by the way. So, I've got a wig on, if you didn't know. The Marshall Stockwell 2 is the IPX4, so a little bit waterproof, but the others can actually be dropped in water. But only the Neo 2 can be dropped in water, and it will float, and it will play with the drivers up. So you could actually lie low in the swimming pool and still be playing that, and be what you think. And but you're enjoying life. It's actually interesting comparing the drivers between the X600, which they would have you believe is just a cut down X500, but that's not the whole story, because the X, I don't know what I just said. Anyway, you'll know what I mean. Is the X500 just a cut down X600? No, it's more than that, because we got the front 2 drivers are 50mm and the top driver is 40mm. Again, the marketing 3-4 range drivers, you think it's all the same. They're not. 15 watts, 50mm, 10 watts, 40mm. Whereas the X600, the woofers are 60mm. The biggest drivers anyway, and they've got two 27mm tweeters and the output firing driver.
8 out of 10 people prefer it straight up.
It's 50mm. Not the 40mm that we got here. But on the table, there's only one driver that's got titanium drivers. It's the classic Motion Boom. 3 of these speakers have an auxiliary input. That's brilliant. And of those 3, well, unfortunately, the Rave Neo 2 has a tiny bit of lag. I measured 16 milliseconds, which is tiny, but if it's critical, there is some lag. Whereas the X600, I gotta say, and the Stockwell 2, 0, have no lag at all, 0 milliseconds. In terms of YouTube, Stockwell 2, 83 milliseconds, that's okay, that's doable. For me, 80 milliseconds is a cutoff point. Motion Boom, 160 milliseconds is not very good. X600, 83 milliseconds is my cutoff point, that's okay. The Rave Neo 2, 185 milliseconds, that's poor. And depending on the codec, for the X500, it's 100 milliseconds on LDAC. Well, for me, it's not ideal, but that's just about usable. SPC is 133 milliseconds, that's not great. And AAC on Android, 233 milliseconds. You're seeing the issues with AAC on Android, and that's not great at all. There's no app for the Marshall. Soundcore have and always have had class-leading app with a 9-band graphic equalizer, and indeed on the X600 and the X500s, yep, those 2, we've got sort of what they call Pro EQ, sort of kind of parametric equalizer, but a little bit fiddly, as you saw for me, so I don't really use it. Bit of white paint across the saying Soundcore. I don't like that. Some people don't like the grille. I quite like the look of the X500. Some people don't like the grille because it's got that. Like, it's supposed to be is that supposed to look like a musical letter, isn't it, or something, or a musical note? But at least it's proper metal. It's more about the looks on this speaker for me and the X600 than substance. I mean, no market point. Yeah, and spatial audio. It's stereo. Spatial audio is stereo. So, thank you for watching. I know, so apparently 45% of you will never quite get a handle on what I'm trying to do. It's not true to say there's only 2 speakers with the spatial audio, as they would tell you. And don't tell people this is a replacement for a home theatre, because I mean it's got nothing to do with like or love or whether it's not a replacement. What do you hook your TV up to? Is HDMI ARC or HDMI ARC? There's a reason why you don't use a speaker that you're going to have to keep recharging that doesn't even have an auxiliary. You're going to have to do it over Bluetooth with all its latency issues. And it doesn't play any surround sound. It's going to play stereo. So it doesn't replace that. Even if this was a 50-foot across speaker, if it doesn't have HDMI ER, quite honestly, and it doesn't do in surround sound formats, it's not. You wouldn't buy it, would you? So the idea to encourage this to be used as a home theatre replacement, I mean that means you're hot. It reminds me of Canon. Several years back, I used to do photography. And they were always holding back features because they had the best cameras, and so even features that were out there ready, they would hold back and not give you till the other competitors were catching up, and on their lower down rung, just to make them differentiate between the high-end models, features they could easily implement that are just software features, they would take out. Do you know why? Because they were not looking after the back, and it cost them a lot. A lot of people moved on to, including me. I went to Micro Four Thirds. I had enough of all that. So I said, it's not the person. I find injustice where I find it. I thank you for watching and I hope to see you again.
What the was that?
You boom.
It comes from China.
My speaker's got deep bass, balanced mids, and a bright high.
Yes, mine sounds exactly the same.